Now, Harry, how did you become a rod maker?
Purely by accident. Because of a medical problem at 14, 15 years old, I was informed that I would have to take an easy profession for the rest of my life for physical reasons. And the only company that said yes was a fishing rod company.
I see.
This is in Callander in Perthshire.
Mm-hmm. When you started, what were the most common material and construction of a rod?
Oh, that was bamboo.
Bamboo?
All bamboo,
I
yes.
see. And then?
Then eventually glass fibre, then eventually carbon fibre, and we're still on carbon fibre now.
Did you do any green hard
Not
wood?
at that time, no. The green heart for me is, it's been a new challenge to find out where to buy it, first of all, the tools necessary to work with it, and there was no such thing as a book of measurements for a 15-foot rod or a 9-foot rod. I had to make and feel.
But you did do green hardwood rods?
In the olden days, no.
Ah, you didn't?
No.
But you do now?
I do now, yes.
Interesting. In your opinion, which material is the best?
It's at different stages, all the rod manufacturers have made a good rod. Sooner or later they make a good one, and to me that means a rod that is flexible and produces the shape of the fly line. When you push the rod forward, the rod will have a long bend on it, and then the fly line will follow the shape of the rod. Okay. So there are many modern rods that are just too stiff and they don't work properly.
I see. Were women able to cast heavy rods? Let's say one of green heart wood.
Yes, the ladies, there's possibly more ladies fishing then than there are now because of the pressures of families and so on in business. But in the olden days, the rods were slower and easier to cast with and less of a problem for ladies. Now it's a bit, you could compare it to golf clubs. You'll get very stiff golf clubs and also much slower ones. And I suspect that the slower ones are just easier to use.
Okay, so easier also for women?
Yes.
Definitely. Yeah. Okay. Do you think the new rods are up to the old ones in respect of longevity?
No, because the new modern rods are they're very thin on the wall. The wall thickness is very fine and they're easily broken, very easily broken, and they don't, for example, you can repair a split cane rod and you can repair a green heart rod, but carbon rod just explodes and there's nothing you can do to repair it.
I see. Have we reached the limit in lightness and strength, do you think?
Yes, and we're turning the corner and we're moving back to a softer rod, and they are getting heavier again because you have to introduce fiberglass to make it more supple, and fiberglass makes it slightly heavier, but I think people will feel the benefit and they'll enjoy the stiffer rod and the slower action.
I see. Did you make rods to measure, and what did you base your measurements on?
The rods, many of them were made to suit different people. They may fish a small river, a highland river, they may fish only a loch somewhere. So you would build a rod to suit where they fish and how often they fish, and just take it from there, just build it up like making a suit of clothes.
What about physical attributes? Would you be concerned about that as well when building a rod?
No, probably the only thing, I'm enthusiastic of long rods because they work far better. Shorter rods, you have to do the work.
Yes.
And it's not the rod that does it for you.
But are they not heavier then as well?
Yes, they are.
So for women, maybe.
It's you will find something. You have to come to a meeting point where the rod is just enough. But the old greenheart rods were extremely heavy, so a lady today should never have to complain about a carbon fibre rod feeling heavy.
Yes.
It shouldn't be possible. It's only when you step back and use an old cane rod and an old greenheart rod, you think, these are heavy.
Yes.
But all carbon fibre rods, they basically weigh the same.
Yes. Okay. What if someone wanted to buy a rod from you? What would he have to pay for it?
For a salmon rod, for a 15-foot salmon rod, probably between £600 and £700.
Okay, and do you still do cane rods?
Yes, but only trout.
Okay.
And there you're talking about £1,000 for an 8-foot or a 9-foot single-handed trout rod.
And what about greenheart wood?
Greenheart.
You don't do that now.
I would try my best to stop the customer from ordering one. It takes so long to make one.
Yes.
The last one I made was a salmon rod, an 18-foot salmon rod, and it took 1 month to make that rod.
So that would cost a fortune.
Well,
really.
It's easily worked out. If you're taking someone's wages per hour,
Yes.
just multiply it by 1 month.
Oh
And you
dear.
would end up probably £7,000 or £8,000.
Thousands, yes. I see. Well, but it might be worthwhile, because if you think a greenheart wood rod will last a lifelong, or even 2 or 3 lives long, whereas the modern ones just break sometimes, don't they?
The old greenhearts, there are people still using them. They just like fishing the old-fashioned way.
Yes. What was the percentage of women customers to you, Harry?
It's something like 10%.
Okay. And is it increasing, you think?
No, I don't think so.
And why is that?
Time, family,
Okay.
garden,
Uh-huh.
holidays, there's too many things.
Or is it not that fishing for salmon is still regarded as a man's sport?
It is, yes. And men they prefer to be on their own, frankly, on the river.
I see.
To have their wife at the pool below in front of them is the last straw.
I think, very frankly, you're speaking now, yes. Is the individual rod maker, the day of the individual rod maker over, or in other words, are you the last of a breed?
I'm the last one in Scotland, and I think I could probably find the addresses of 2, maybe 3 in England, that we're all capable of building almost anything and repairing almost anything. Whereas the major rod companies, today they're buying from rods made in Taiwan, from China,
Yes.
that are a lot cheaper, but they're losing the skills in their own factory.
It's a shame, really, isn't it?
They can't afford to take on young people because the young people want such a high wage right from the very first day. And it takes a year or 2 years to be able to be a rod builder, and you're still learning after that.
So I'm really lucky to be talking to you, Harry. Thank you so much for to end our little interview. Could you have a kind of story for me or for our listeners, an anecdote, something?
Well, the one that there's a number, quite a number, and I'll quickly give you 2 of them. I actually taught skiing at one time, and on Cairngorm, and I was asked to come and meet the pupils for this day, the class, and on seeing them, they had very big skis, crash helmets, and racing ski pants, And I thought, well, I'm going to die teaching these people. This looks like the Swiss team. At the end of the day, well, in fact, just before that, I wanted to know what they could do on skis. So we went up the mountain and I asked them to follow me. At the bottom, I was on my own, which was a great relief. They were scattered all down the mountainside. And one of them was Prince Andrew.
Oh, I see. Interesting.
The other one is another royal connection. I was to telephone this castle one evening because one of the guests had broken his rod. And this gentleman, this retired army general, said, well, my guest could speak to you now. Could you have a word with him? He has an old green heart rod just like mine. I'll give you the prince just now. And your mouth just falls open when you get that.
Oh, of course, that's wonderful. And
but there's many other stories.
Yes, and is the prince still one of your customers, I believe?
Yes. His rod and reel was in here last week.
Okay.
Each year I have to check them over, make sure everything is perfect.
Okay.
I understand he has very little patience with, I'll say servants, but staff probably is a better name for it.
Yeah.
But he has little patience, and if something goes wrong,
he's not very pleased.
He's not pleased at all.
Okay. Thank you so much for the interview, Harry.
My pleasure.
Thank you.